Hi there everyone, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to this 2,000 point Arcs of Omen Grand Tournament game between the forces of the Genestealer Cult and the Ultramarines. Across this ruined cityscape battle, the loyal Sons of Gilman come across the cultists of the Four-Armed Emperor, and they shall do battle today. Our mission for today is Tide of Convergence. I'm still taking us through the Arcs of Omen Grand Tournament rulebook before 10th edition comes on out. And then we'll move on to what the new edition has, the new 40k has in store for all of us. But for today, the mission is as follows. It's a hold 2, hold 3, hold more, with the bonus being a couple extra points if you hold a objective in your opponent's territory, which is the table halves going the long way. So up to this kind of midline where these two sections of terrain meet up. That separates the terrain or territory of the Ultramarines and the cult respectively. Each army has a single objective in their deployment zone, and then two close by their deployment zones kind of offset, mostly hiding behind terrain. Speaking of terrain, I'm going to continue using the Titan's Terrain board set. So all of the buildings are going to be 5 inches or taller ruins. So obscuring, breachable, scalable, all that good stuff for the infantry as we move across the battlefield. So that is our mission and table for today. So let's start by taking a look at the armies. For the forces of the Genestealer Cults, I'm going to be using the Twisted Helix as my cult for today. That's going to be +1 strength, +1 inch move, and baby transhuman. So wounds of 1 and 2 are always going to fail. For my required slot, I did choose troops, just so that I could spread thin and spread across the board. So speaking of across the board, I'll just take us left to right as we see it with the cult. We start off on this flank with one of my rock grinders with the heavy mining laser. As a 5-man unit of acolytes in the back with a banner, lash whip, bone sword on the leader, and 2 heavy rock saws. Then we move on to a unit of ridge runners with the mining lasers and the flare launchers. So 6-up feel no pain or 6-up invuln from shooting. Next up, we have one of 2 squads of abominants with a improvised heavy weapon on the leader. Behind them is the Biophagus. He did take the proficient planning for Alchemist Supreme, so he's given the other squad the 5-up feel no pain already. Behind them is the Primus. No upgrades there, no warlord traits or relic on him. Then we have a single squad of 10 neophyte hybrids, just with a banner. No heavy weapons, just going to sit on the home field objective and raise a banner. Then moving on over, we have an identical rock grinder near this flank. The same thing, banner, lash whip, bone sword on the unit leader, and 2 saws. Then we move in to this side. We have this squad of aberrants that already have the 5-up feel no pain, and the Magus with Psychic Stimulus and the Twisted Helix power of Mutagenic Deviation. And then our final unit that is going to be starting on the board is this unit of Jackals with a Wolf Quad with the Mining Laser. For everything that is going to be starting off underground in Deep Strike, we have our Warlord, the Patriarch. Patriarch is going to have Might from Beyond and Mass Hypnosis. We've also upgraded him with both the Warlord trait and Relic for the Twisted Helix. So Bioalchemist is going to be +1 damage on all his melee weapons. And then his Relic, the Elixir of the Prime Specimen, That's given us 2 of the 3 upgrades from the Biophagus. So I went to the 5-up, and the 6s to hit will score an additional hit for him. He also has a Psychic Familiar, just like the Magus does. We also have a 10-man squad of Acolytes with a Rock Cutter, a Rock Saw, 2 full 10-man squads of Genestealers. We have our Abominant, and then we have our Kellamorph hitting in the back, right next to the Patriarch. For our secondaries, we've taken Brood Swarm, Raise the Banners High, and Ambush. So we want to make sure that we are all over the table and killing from Deep Strike or killing from enemies that have markers on them, as well as banners. Hoping to get my 3 banners pretty quickly and then hold on to them for the game. That's it for the Genestealer Cults, so let's take a look at the Ultramarines. For the forces of Macragge, I've also chosen troops for my compulsory slot for the Arcs of Omen detachment. We have, going left to right, a single ATV with the multi-melta on this side of the battlefield. We have an Impulsor with the Shield Dome, carrying a single 5-man Intercessor squad, and my Warlord, the Primaris Captain, with the Bolter and Power Sword. No Warlord trait or relic on him today, so trying to save some points up. Then we have a big 10-man squad of Intercessors here in this ruin and staying on this objective. In No Man's Land, 1 of 2 squads of Infiltrators have done their infiltrating to get up onto a No Man's Land objective to start. Then in the middle of the table, we have a big death ball of characters and vehicles. So we have a Gladiator with the double las cannon and the melta-gun sponsons. We have a Redemptor Dreadnought with what you see is what you get. So he's going to have the bolters in his chest, the Onslaught Gatling, and the Flamer in his hand. He did also take the Icarus rocket pod, but I couldn't find that bit as I was setting up. Then behind him, supporting, is our rest of the character crew. We have a Primaris Librarian with Psychic Fortress and Veil of Time. We have a Primaris Lieutenant, and we have, as always, the Primaris Apothecary with the Warlord trait and Selfless Healer. We also have a 3-man Blade Guard squad and a 3-man Aggressor squad with Bolt Storm Gauntlets. Then a little bit of Firstborn in the list. We have a 5-man Devastator squad, 2 las cannons, 2 missile launchers, and an Armorian Cherub. Our second squad of Infiltrators here in No Man's Land. And then finally on the board, 3 Outriders ready to outflank on this side. We also have 3 Eradicators that are in Tactical Reserves. So they're going to be walking on starting from turn 2. Just trying to save them a little bit and not have to wait for the cult to come into their short range. So we're going to be starting on 5 CP for the Ultramarines. Our secondary objectives are March for Macragge, Assassination, and Grind them down. So hoping that I can march for Macragge on 3 of the objectives pretty much immediately, get me 12 points on one of my secondaries in the first turn, and then try to kill characters and just kill more than the cult can kill in any given turn. So those are the armies, the table, and the mission. So let's go to the roll-off. Both armies are in a position where they can make good use of the first turn to set up banners or do the action for March for Macragge. So red dice will be the cultists and the blue dice will be the Marines. And it is going to start off with Ultramarines turn 1. Turn 1 with the Ultramarines, we have taken the first turn as a bit of an opportunity to stage everything where we want it to be. So nothing too aggressive from the Ultramarines, as the cult were able to use their pregame move on some of their assets to hide pretty well. So the Bikers just took their 9 inches to move back a little bit out of line of sight of most things. And same with the Ridge Runners. So they are hiding behind the terrain as much as they can. So instead of rocketing forward with the ATV, I'm just placing it behind this ruin here, waiting for the next turn to come around so I can unleash the melty gun. Impulsor just moved forward to kind of give these intercessors, or not intercessors, these infiltrators a little bit of cover, while the murder ball is starting to move towards the center. Did spend 1 CP on Wisdom of the Ancients for the Rites of Battle from the Dreadnought. That's essentially only going to give himself reroll 1s to hit, but figure might as well try to use him wet as I can. And then over here, the Devastators stood still, and the Outriders are the only ones who moved forward, just swinging around to hide behind this building as well. On the 3 objectives that the Marines are on, we're going to try to do We March from Crag. So if they are still doing that action in the next turn, that will be a big 12 points on that secondary for me. So that's movement and command phase. In Psychic, all we have to do is the Primaris Librarian. He's just going to quickly try to do Psychic Fortress, so needing a 6. And then I'll call that 5 cocked. Getting it with a 9, not within 24. So we will have Psychic Fortress active. Nothing else we need to do in Psychic, so we will go through probably a pretty quick shooting phase now. Started the shooting phase. We're going to go with the Redemptor first. Only thing that's in range is the Heavy Onslaught Cannon into this squad of Neophytes in the back. So 12 shots, re-rolling our 1s to hit. Oof. And looks like that is not going to be a good use of the CP. And then wounding on 3s, since Baby Transhuman for Twisted Helix. That'll be 5 of them at AP -2. So that'll be 5 of the Neophytes taken down from the Redemptor. Only other real shooting of consequence is going to be the Gladiator Valiant into this Rock Grinder over here. We're going to start off with the 4 Las Talon shots on 3s. And plenty of CP, so we'll try to take this guy down as soon as we can. So CP reroll to hit. That'll be 4 hits. And then strength 8, or strength 9, toughness 7, so 3s to wound. Just the 2 at -3. Goes to -4 for it being Heavy Doctrine. So no save there. This is going to be 2d6 -2 thanks to Rugged Construction. That'll actually only, that'll be a pair of snake eyes. Only 2 damage onto the truck right there. Yikes. Then we also have the multi-meltas. So 4 multi-melta shots here. 3 hits. 2 wounds. -4 goes to -5. So again, it will be no saves. And then 2d6 -2 damage here. Since we're definitely not in melter range. Oh my goodness. Can't make that up. So that is going to be 4 damage from 4 anti-tank weapons going through. Wow. So with that, we have nothing else. I did shoot the guns from the Impulsor that were in range into the Rock Grinder just to try to take 1 more wound and bracket it. Unfortunately, nothing made it through. So So that's going to do it for the shooting phase and for the turn. We're working on 3 points for March for McCrag, so that'll be 12 points if I can get all of them to complete the action, which I think I should be able to do. Assassination and Grind aren't going to score anything. I do see the dice I used there to remind myself of the morale for the neophytes. So d6 plus 5, and that's a 1 on morale. So none more will run, and then we will go into Genestealer Cultists, turn 1. Turn 1 for the Genestealer Cultists, and again, this is going to be a setup turn as we begin the game for both sides. So in the command phase, nothing much to do other than this squad of neophytes did call a cult and brought back all 5 of the folks who were missing, so they're back up to their starting strength. After the movement phase, I've also raised a banner on our home objective and the 2 closer no man's land objective, both with the aberrants as they advanced up the board. Also moved around trying to minimize line of sight for the Ultramarines as we try to start the clash in the middle. The bikers have moved forward to take some line of sight into the Impulsor, and then the Ridge Runners and Rock Grinder over here are lining up shots against the big Death Ball in the middle and the Outriders respectively. So that is it for movement and command phase. In terms of psychic, all that we have is the Magus on the table right now. So I'm going to go with mutagenic deviation first, meaning 5, getting it with a 10. And then I'll also try to smite the Impulsor on a 4. That won't do it. And I'll use the Psychic Familiar here to re-roll, see if I can't get a couple of free wounds off in the early game. On a 10, that'll do it for D3 mortal wounds, for the big 3 mortal wounds. So, with a little bit of Psychic, we are now ready to move on to the shooting phase. I'm going to actually start off with the Jackals right here. They are going to fire everything they've got into that Impulsor. So, 4 shots from the pistols are ready to go in, as well as the mining laser. So, 4 shots from the pistols real quick. Alright, good round of hits. And then strength 4, so on 5s. Oh wow, so 3 hits at no AP. Alright, so sneak a single wound in there for the pistols. And then 1 shot from the mining laser. Hits on a 4. And then mining laser is strength 9, so wounds on a 3. No wound there. But that is enough to get me a crossfire marker, so I will leave it there. So that'll get me a crossfire and the Impulsor down to 7. Next, we'll move on to the Rock Grinder. Rock Grinder is going to do the same thing, and it's going to fire everything that's got into the Impulsor here. So now we are going to go with our heavy mining laser, so D3 shots. For 2 shots, hitting on a 3 thanks to crossfire. 2 and a 3. We'll spend a CP reroll here just to try to get that taken down for ambush. And that is a 2 again. Strength 9. So winning on a 3. Nothing there. That'll do it there. And then it'll just be the stubber now. So 3 shots on 3s. Only 1. Will take a wound, and Wow, so apparently this Impulsor's Bane is small arms fire, but that is essentially the heavy guns on the side, only taken 2 more wounds off of an Impulsor. Looking at what was going to have line of sight, I also spent 2 CP on the Jackals to give them their 7-inch move after they shot. So they are now hiding behind this building and hopefully are going to limit the line of fire or line of sight and rate of fire that's going into them, or at the very least give the Ultramarines another thing to shoot at so that maybe I don't lose this squad on my home objective here. That is basically one flank fully resolved. We have nothing here. And then it is essentially just going to be the big guns from the Ridge Runners and the second Rock Grinder, and then that'll be the turn. I'm going to start over here with the Rock Grinder, throwing everything it's got into the Outriders. 1 CP spent for the Ultramarines, bringing us down to 5, I believe, off the top of my head, for -1 to be hit. So trying to make sure that I keep my assets as long as I can. I'm going to start off with the heavy mining laser here. So D3 shots, just the 1 shot actually, and -1 to hit will be a 5 up. Nothing, and that -1 to hit did save us. And then the heavy stubber will be 3 shots, not 4. Alright, still 2 shots, or 2 hits rather. Force to wound. 1 wound at no AP. Just the 1 wound onto a single Outrider from the Rock Grinder. And that just leaves us with the Ridge Runners. Finally, for the Cult, we're going to have the Ridge Runners. All of their shots are going to go downwind into the aggressors. 1 CP, bring us down to 4 for the Ultramarines on transhuman physiology to try to keep them as alive as possible. So this is going to be 3 shots from the heavy mining lasers. So 3, 4, 5 shots there. So 4, 5 shots on 4s. So missed twice there. And then on 4s. Alright, so that transhuman has already saved 1 of them. -3 will go to a 6-up armor save. And he makes it with the 6-up armor save. There we go. And then with the heavy stubbers, so that'll be 6 shots apiece for 18 shots on 4s and 5s. That'll be 1, 2, 3 wounds at no AP into the aggressors. So no AP, so that will be a flat out miss from the guns of the Cult there, and that will do it for the turn. So we have raised 3 banners at this point. We, for ambush, do not believe we score anything, and then Brood Swarm, we will count it up, then see what the score is going into turn 2 for the Ultramarines. Starting off turn 2 strong with the Ultramarines, we scored the big 12 on March for Macragge, as we were able to complete the secondary action on all of the objectives that we started on. So that frees up 3 of our infantry squads to do what they wish. However, at this point they are just going to stay still as the rest of the army moves up the board to start taking the middle. So in the command phase, we used Wisdom of the Ancients again. So that'll be a rerolling 1s to hit from the Redemptor here as it and the Bomb move up to claim the middle of the table. We've also moved forward with the Impulsor and the ATV, trying to get some tallies on grind, starting off with this Rock Grinder. The intercessors and the 2 squads of infiltrators just stood still, again holding on to their objectives and zoning out the deep strikers for the cult, while the outriders are moving forward, hoping to take on one of the aberrant squads, and the devastators have taken advantage of being ultramarines in tactical to count as not moving, as they line up all of their shots onto this rock grinder. So that's going to do it for the movement and command phase. Psychic phase, we are going to start off with the Psychic Fortress from the Librarian again. Double sixes, we'll let that go off. So Psychic Fortress will go off, but cost us 3 wounds onto the Librarian. And then we will attempt Veil of Time on a 10, and Veil of Time is going to go on to the Blade Guard, so make sure they are a little bit safer if they do in fact get charged. With that Librarian only down to 2 wounds, he is going to probably have to be careful about perils in the rest of the game, but we are going to move on to shooting, and we're going to start off with the ATV. He is going to go ahead and shoot everything he's got into this rock grinder, starting off with the double multi-multa, or this double multi-multa shot. So 1 hit, 1 miss. Wounding on a 3. Takes it. And then we are going to go right to D6 plus 2 damage here for the big 7. So all of these, or both the rock grinders, have a cache of demolition charges. Debating whether I want to allow it to be rigged to blow or not. I think I am, because that is going to hopefully get the impulsor down a couple more wounds and make it easier for it to kill. So this rock grinder has been rigged to blow, and we will come back after the explosion and disembarkation. After all was said and done with the explosion, we lost 1 biker, 2 wounds off of an aberrant, 1 wound off of the magus, none of the acolytes here on the side of the Genestealer cults. 3 wounds were taken off of the ATV, and then 1 wound was taken off of the impulsor. Speaking of the impulsor, it is going to shoot next. It is going to fire everything it's got into the freshly disembarked squad of acolytes. We're going to start off with the grenade launchers. So 2d6 for 9 shots there. And then 9 shots, or 9 dice here as I drop it. Hitting on 3s. Perfectly statistical. And then 4s to wound. Ooh, nothing there. Just the 2 at no AP. Fail 2, so that will take 2 wounds down there. Then the Iron Hail on top. Will be 2 more wounds at a 6-up save. Will be a total of 4 damage going through to that squad. That will just leave the acolyte with the banner left. However, taking a squat looking at line of sight, I can see him very clearly with this squad of intercessors who are all in 30-inch range and in line of sight, thanks to being within that ruin. So I think 10 bolt rifles going into 1 acolyte. We know how that ends. That'll be that squad taken out. So with that, that is just about everything on this half of the field for the Marines. Taking 2 on our grind them down tally. Then we're going to move on to the Gladiator. Gladiator is going to pivot as it hovers, and shoot everything that's got into the Ridge Runners. Starting off with the multi-multi shots from the Gladiator. 4 shots on 3s. Ooh, let's see. We're not in half range, so we're not going to get Melta, so we'll let those 2 misses slide. Then 3s to wound. A 1 and a 3. Here's where I think we will spend a CP reroll. Just to try to make sure that we can at least get the damage. Nope. Ooh. Flare launchers gives us 6-up against 6-up infilling against shooting, and there we go. So the flare shoots down the molten slug shot of whatever the multi-melta shot, and then that just leaves us with the twin las talon at 4 more shots. 3s to wound, then 6s to save, and d6 damage a time. That'll be 1 and a 3. Ooh, jeepers. Not great damage there, so 3 damage taken onto a Ridge Runner. Moving on to the big death ball in the center of the board. We're going to start off with the aggressors. Everything that they've got is going to go into the jackals. Rolled for the assault launchers off camera. So it is going to be a total of 33 shots. Rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling 1s to wound, -1 to hit at the jackals. So we are going to see what we can do. So there's going to be 33 shots, hitting on 4s, rerolling 1s to hit and to wound. So after all that was said and done, we're going to have 11 5-up saves, thanks to being in Tactical Doctrine. So, 5-ups. We will save 2, 3 of them, so that will be 8 wounds going through. That'll either be for the bikers or the wolf quad, and 2 bikers. So I am... I'll take 4 of the bikers away. So that'll be 1, 2, 3. Unfortunately, it will have to be the leader to go away next, but that will leave the jackals looking like so. We're going to continue in the middle trying to kill them dead with the Redemptor. So everything from the Redemptor is going to go into the 3 remaining jackals, or the 2 jackals and the wolf quad at least. So 4s. So that gets a lot of 2s there. That will be a reroll for himself. And then strength 6. So 3s to wound, reroll 1s. Wow, thank goodness for the reroll 1s. This only gets us another one. So that's 2 at -1. So 5-up saves. 2 failed there. That'll be another 2 damage taken, so we'll kill another biker. The grenade launchers, not the grenade launchers, no, the built-in, where are we? Where are we? Storm bolters, that's where we are. That's what we're looking for. Sorry. All right, so 2, 4... 8 with the storm bolters, rerolling 1s for himself, then those 2s and 3s miss, 4s to wound, rerolling 1 to wound, nothing there, AP -1, so 5-ups, fail both of those, that'll be 2 wounds taken on the final regular biker. And then the heavy flamer was in range, so d6 shots from the flamer. That'll be 3 at -1, so 3 wounds at -1. So we take 2 on the wolf quad. And that is it. So at the end of the redemption shooting, the Wolf Squad is left alive on 2 wounds. Then the last major thing of shooting are going to be the Devastators, who did move, but thanks to being Ultramarines in tactical, count as staying stationary. So we are going to fire in with the las cannons and the missile launchers. I'll put the signum on one of the las cannons just to declare that. So this will be the las cannon hitting on a 3, and then on a 2. All right, there you go. 3s to wound now. Make 1, fail 1. Then a 6-up save. Nothing there. So d6 damage on one of the las cannons. Ooh, all right. So 6 damage right there. And then the 2 missile launchers. On 3s. 1 hit, 1 miss. On a 3 to wound. Will make it. Then the crack missile is AP-2, so 5-up save here. And another d6 damage. Just the 1 there. And then finally, I will use the Armorian Cherub here, as it falls off the building. There you go. On the Signumed las cannon, so hitting on a 2. Wounding on a 3. Saving on a 6. Nothing there. And then 7, so needing a 3-up. Or actually, no, needing a 4-up, or 5-up, since we are -1 damage on each of these. That'll be a 6, going down to a 5. That will be 11 damage. 10 wounds onto the Rock Grinder will bring it down. And it does not explode there, and well, can't automatically explode it. That will be a 3rd unit wiped out for Grind Them Down. After the vehicle exploded, rolled, and 2 of the acolytes did not make it out, so there's just the 3 right here. Then finally in shooting, the last were the Outriders. They shot their rifles and took 2 wounds off of one of the Aberrants. And at this point, we are going to go right into the charge phase. The Outriders are going to charge into this squad of Aberrants. And the Primus, just to get some more distance. So we are going to have a 7-inch charge to get them well within both of those. So that'll be the Outriders, and the Outriders will be the only charge we're going to do here. With the 1 charge of the Outriders, we're going to have 12 attacks into the Aberrants, and then 7 attacks into the Primus. So into the Aberrants first, on 3s. Ooh, all right. And then strength 4, toughness 5, so 5 to wound. We'll take 2 6-up armor save. Makes 1 of them, and then 5-up feel no pain. Saves the other one. So the Aberrants will be able to strike back. And then the Sergeant into the Primus. 3s and 4s. And then that is going to be 3 of them at -1. And I believe that is 1 wound on the Primus, but I will double check, and then we will have them fight back. So after piling in, we have all the Aberrants going into the Outriders, and the Primus has lived on 3 wounds remaining. So we're going to have the heavy power weapons from the regular Aberrants first. Ooh, all right, almost pretty clean swing right there. And then that is going to be strength 6, going up to strength 9. So 3s to wound. All right. -2 against armor 3, so this will be 5-up saves. Ooh, and then that is all of them failed, so that is going to be 3 damage a time. So the first will kill 1, 2, and would be all 3 of them dead if I don't re-roll. Then that's a 5-up. How many am I on? I'm only on 3. Only on 3 for the Marines. I'll need some for group Overwatch. Yep, so I think the Aberrants just killed the Outriders in retaliation. So, an unfortunate, probable misplay on my behalf for the Ultramarines, but that is still going to give us a lot of the assets from the cult taken off. 2 of the Rock Grinders, a squad of Acolytes, and basically an entire squad of Jackals. And that's with the Rock Grinder failing morale. That'll bring us up to 4 on Grind Them Down. So definitely still an issue here for the cult, but it is turn 2, so we will be able to get all of our reinforcements in from Deep Strike should we care to, and I think we care to. So going into cult turn 2. Turn 2 with the Genestealer Cultists, and they hit us hard, so we're going to have to hit them back even harder. The name of the game is Bring Everything Onto the Field. So we have brought everything save the Kellermorph out from reserves. Kellermorph was not able to get into a good position to try to kill a character or anything like that. So unfortunately, he is going to stay underground, hoping to take maybe the Librarian or the Apothecary out of action next turn. But right now, we have moved up. We did get 3 points on banners. We did score 8 points on the primary. And then the Patriarch is near our home field objective to either help take out this Gladiator or help secure the home objective. That way, the Neophytes dying isn't going to negatively affect us. The Aberrants and Magus over here are going to try to take out the ATV and then leave the Captain, Impulsor, and other squad for a later turn. The 3 Rage Runners have moved on forward to both hold this objective and also try to take out the Gladiator or the Redemptor, depending on how fire goes. The Primus is also moved up to help scratch the paint of the Gladiator. The Abominant is joining the squad of Aberrants, who are going to be aiming to take down the Blade Guard. Then in this flank, here's where a lot of our reinforcements came down. The 5-man squad of Acolytes with the 2 saws are going to try to take out the Infiltrators right here, get this objective. And then the Devastators are lined up for a charge from this squad of Acolytes. While finally in the back, our 2 squads of Pure Screen Genestealers are pincering this squad of Intercessors. I did spend 2 CP to fire on this squad of Genestealers. So 2 CP, 2 Genestealers dead. Probably not the best trade, but hey, that's 8 less attacks going into them, and that's assuming that they make their charge anyway. So with that, our movement phase is all set, and we are ready to go into shooting. We're going to take off as many of these blue boys as possible. Of course, that is to say, after we do the psychic phase. So we are going to start off with the Magus. The Magus is going to try to throw a smite into the ATV on a 5. That will get it. And I think the Primaris Librarian will try to deny that. Yep, so 6. So that is denied right there. Then we are going to try to do mutagenic deviation again. Getting it with a 7. We will allow that, we will have that go off on the aberrants. Then next up will be the Patriarch. Patriarch is going to try to give himself Might from Beyond. On a 7, he'll get it. And then he will just try to... Yeah, no sense in Massive Gnosis, so he'll try to smite again. Or smite as well, so 5. Nothing. So that'll just be Might from Beyond on him. And that will take us to the shooting phase. Starting off with the shooting phase, we're actually going to start off with the neophytes down here, just shooting their shots into the gladiator. Not hoping to do any real damage, but just hoping for a fair number of hits here to get the crossfire marker on it. That will be, yep, that'll definitely be enough. So 6 hits, so that'll, after these guys are done shooting, give us a crossfire marker. Then 6s to wound, nothing there, but that will give me the marker so that I can hit with the Ridge Runners even better. So now everything from the Ridge Runners going into the Gladiator. 3d3 shots from the heavy mining lasers. So 3, 5, 6 shots. On 3s now. And it is also exposed since the aberrants are on the far side of it. All right. And we only have 4 CP here. I think 4 wounds going through, or 4 hits is good. Let's see if we can get it on wounds. 3s to wound. Here's where we'll go with a reroll, bring us down to 3. So 4 wounds from the heavy mining lasers. So heavy mining laser is -3, and then just double checking what that gives me for exposed. Yep, so it's that. That. And no cover, but that doesn't matter. So 6s to save. Nothing there. So I think this should hopefully be the vehicle done. But this is going to be 4d6 damage. Oof, there we go. So that'll be 6, 10, 14, 17 wounds on the Gladiator. Does he go boom? He does not. After the Ridge Runners shot, there's nothing else too much to shoot. Just a couple pistols from the back on the Acolytes. No wounds went through from those, so that is going to do it for our shooting phase. We did get 4 points on ambush for that, so that will be good. And then in the charge phase, what we're going to do is we are going to have the aberrants charge into the Blade Guard and the... Yes, we're going to charge into the Blade Guard and the aggressors. Since I only have 2 CP left, I actually can't overwatch with the aggressors, but I can overwatch with everything near the aggressors. So 2 CP on defensive focus. I'm going to try to fire everything that we've got in the middle towards the aberrants as they try to charge in and take the Blade Guard. So after all of that overwatch, one of the aberrants was killed and one was taken down to 2 wounds. We were able to get into melee with both the Blade Guard and the aggressors. So that is going to do it for us. Now we are going to try to charge in with the Abominant. The Abominant's going to try to go into the aggressors. Needing an 8. I don't know if that will get it. That will just get the Abominant into melee with the aggressors. So hopefully between him and the aberrants in the middle, we can start chipping down there. Over on this flank, the squad of Acolytes is going to pretty successfully, easily make it into melee with the Marines here. And then we're going to need an 8-inch charge on the big squad of Acolytes into the Devastators. getting it with a 9, so they will make it in, and then I'll scooch them in when I am able to. Then we are going to go with this full squad of Genestealers into the Intercessors on a 9 again, so that'll get them in. The Wounded squad with an 8 again, so 8s all around, so there we go. I'm going to go with the Aberrants into... Yeah, so we will do the Aberrants just into the ATV. So, double 1, not a problem there. Actually, didn't want to move too far, so we'll just tuck him there. And then the last thing, the last good charge is going to be the Broodlord, or Patriarch rather. Patriarch does have a 12-inch charge to the Redemptor. And we still haven't used a CP reroll here. 4 definitely won't do it. So I'll use a CP reroll. For a 6, definitely not. So he's going to be kind of hanging out in the wind, but that will do it for the charge phase. Now, we do have Fight First from Veil of Time on the Blade Guard, so we are probably going to have to go with the Aberrants first. But other than that, we are not going to be at risk of an interrupt from the Marines. So we're going to start off with the Aberrants here. 2 of them with the regular heavy power weapons, and the Hypermorph can go into the Blade Guard, and one of them is going to have to go into the Aggressor. So 4 attacks here, rerolling thanks to the Abominant being nearby. So on 3s, no need to reroll here. And then Strength 9 into Toughness 4, so 2 to wound on the Blade Guard veterans. Oh, wait, what am I thinking about? I was thinking for Transhuman, but no CP for the Marines, so this will be 2s to wound. Alright, so that is just rerolling the hit. Yep, so 3 wounds at their 4-up invuln saves. Yep, yeah, so 4-ups. Make 1, fail 2. That is going to be 3 damage a time. And 3 wounds a time, so 6-up save from the Apothecary. Alright, we'll keep 1 alive on 1 wound, actually. And then he will die. So 1 of the Blade Guard will die. We'll take this guy up front. Then it'll be the 3 attacks from the Hypermorph on 3s. All hitting there. Strength 6, 7. So wounding on 3s. Just the 1 wound there. -1 goes back up to a 3-up save thanks to the shield. Alright, so it makes it there. And then the tail on a 3. Strength 6, so on 3. And then a 3-up save. Fails it. Doesn't make it. So we do take another damage onto 1 of the Blade Guard there. And then it'll be the 2 Blade Guards attacking back. So now we are going to be going with the Blade Guard veterans into the Aberrants. 3s, rerolling 1s to hit and to wound from both of the leaders, or from Wisdom of the Ancient and the Lieutenant being nearby. So Strength 5, Toughness 5, so 4s to wound, rerolling my 1s. Whoop, thankfully rerolling my 1s. Not great there. So 2 of them at -3 will go right through. So that'll be 4 damage on our 5-up Film of Pains. So make 2, fail 2. That'll be 1 more of the Aberrants dropped. And then with that, it'll be the Genestealer Cult's turn to fight. And with the sheer amount of fighting, I think I'm going to do all of this off camera and then see what we can do at the end of the fight phase. And here's the dead pile after all of the Genestealer Cultist forces fought. We have completely wiped out the Eliminators, or not the Eliminators, the Aggressors, with a lucky swing from the Abominant. The Devastators have been completely wiped out. There are only 2 Intercessors left from the 10 that were back here on the home field objective. There are only 2 Intercessors that were here on this objective in No Man's Land. Blade Guard is left on 2 wounds, so the Blade Guard will probably be back up into their top fighting shape. And the ATV obviously did not survive 5 different aberrants. So with that, we are good to go to the slapback from the Ultramarines. So we'll see what is living after the Ultramarines are able to get their fight in. The slapback from the Ultramarines was a dent in, I guess. 1 Acolyte killed from the 2 Infiltrators there. 2 Genestealers killed here. We also rolled a 1 on these Intercessors' morale, so because we are objective secured, we will still technically hold our home objective, even though it doesn't really feel like we should be able to, with so many Genestealers right around us. So that will be the turn 2 for the cult. So definitely swung back hard and heavy. Is it going to be enough? Maybe, maybe not. There is still technically the point lead for the Ultramarines as we go into turn 3. We did get our final tick for ambush. That'll bring us up to another point to 18. And then Brood Swarm. We'll definitely have more in my deployment zone and in there and on the board. So the only one that I might not have is No Man's Land. So we'll tally those up, and then we go into Ultramarines turn 3. Turn 3 with the Ultramarines, and we have moved on out, reacting to being essentially surrounded on all flanks. So we have gotten ourselves into as good of a situation as we could. So major things in the movement phase. We did fall back with 2 Intercessors here. I did use Cut Them Down to try to roll some mortal wounds. I actually got 2 of them, so I was able to kill 1 of the Intercessors as they ran away. But now the Infiltrators are aiming at this squad of Genestealers. The 3 characters are going to aim to take out the Aberrants and the Abominant. The Redemptor is in turn coming around here to try to take out the Primus. 2 Intercessors fell back from the Acolytes over here. My Melter Rifle Obliterators have, not Obliterators, whatever they're called, they have walked on from Tactical Reserves to start beaming these Ridge Runners away, and then out of the Impulsor comes the Intercessor and the Captain. So the goal is to take some heads off of characters, get them all set, or get them off the board rather, and then take as much of the board as we could. So with that, we are done with movement. Moving on to Psychic. We are actually going to go and start with a smite here from the Librarian. Getting it with a 7. Trying to deny from the Patriarch. With 7, that will not do it. So smite will take 2 wounds off of one of the Aberrants. And then we will again try to do Psychic Fortress. With a 5. That's not going to do it. I have 1 CP here. I think I'm going to hope that my forces right now can overwhelm them. So that is going to do it for the Psychic phase, and then we'll move on to shooting. Started the shooting phase, turn 3. Just did some of the plank shots from the squads that fell back and this Infiltrator squad. So 4 of the Genestealers were taken off of the home objective, and 2 of the Acolytes were taken off of this side of the board with the infantry that fell back or came back to assist the back lines. Now what we're going to do is we are going to go right on over to the Eradicators that I have. We are going to declare total obliteration into the Ridge Runners. So we are still going to be in Tactical Doctrine. So we are going to go ahead and 3 shots on 3s. So that'll be 2 wounds there, or 2 hits there. And 3s to wound. That'll be 1 wound. We'll spend our... Yeah, I'll spend my CP here to try to get as many wounds through here as possible. So 2 on their 6-up invuln save in shooting. Fail both of those. That will be D6. Actually, let's see. Am I within 12 here? Let's take a look. Just within 12 for 1, so I guess should technically count who is in range there, but we'll assume that these were not the one that was in melter range. So 3 shot, or 3 damage, and then 1 damage. Oof, doesn't even kill one. Brings one of them down to 1 wound, and then we will do the same thing. So we'll do... We'll swap out the wooden die with the red die for the sergeant who's in melter range. On 3s. Alright. And 3s. There we go. 6 to save. Nope. So one of those will kill one of them, and then it'll be 3 damage on another. Next up in the shooting phase is going to be the Redemptor. Everything from the Redemptor is going to go into the Primus right over here, aiming to kill him in shooting, and then come in and hopefully take one of the Ridge Runners, or both of them, off in melee. So we are going to start with the Gatling Cannon on 3s. And then strength 6, toughness 4. That'll be 3s to wound. Take all those out. So minus 1 AP will bring him up to a 6-up save. Fail all 6 of those, and that is going to do it for the Primus. Since I don't think the Ridge Runners can do the special lookout, sir. So that'll be one of the Brood leaders taken off, and a couple points for assassination. Next up will be the 5-man Intercessor Squad that are next to the captain. They're going to double fire or rapid fire everything into the aberrants. So 3s, reroll on my 1 thanks to being next to the captain. And then 4s. Oof, nothing much there. 6-up armor, or no armor, but they do get the 5 film of pain. So ignore 1 and then 2 damage. That'll kill 1 and take another down to 2 wounds remaining. With that, we just have the pistols and other small shots from characters and this impulsor. So I'll do the shots from the impulsor into these aberrants, and then the characters into, well, the other characters actually. And then we will get into chargers. We took another wound off of the aberrant here. So next up, what we are going to do is we're going to start charging in. The captain is going to go charging into the Magus, getting it with an 11, so he'll just scooch on around here. The 5 infiltrators are going to charge into the 4 bugs there. Ooh, double 1, that's not going to do it. And the lieutenant into the abominant with 9, and then we'll do the same thing with the other characters. Librarian, I think, has to go into both. But that will let him go into there. Then finally, we will have the Redemptor into the Race Runners. On a 3, that should still do it. Yep, that'll still do it. So, right there on the Ridge Runners. We do have to worry about an interrupt from the cult, so we are going to start with the Primaris Librarian here, going into the Abominant. 5 attacks from the Librarian. So, 4 hits, Strength 5 versus Toughness 5, so 4 is to wound. That'll be 3 wounds at minus 3 AP. So no save there, minus 1 damage, so D3 minus 1 a time. So that'll be 2, 4, 5 damage taken on the Abominant. He will, he'll live regardless, and then 5 up, feel no pain. He'll go down to half his wounds remaining. So with that, we could interrupt here, and I think I am going to interrupt with the Abominant. We're going to see if we can take out the Apothecary with the Abominant before he goes down. So 3 attacks on 3s. So we will use his Mindworm Familiar reroll there, so I'll turn that miss into a hit. Strength 12, so wounding on 2s. There we go. So 3 at AP minus 3. So 6 up saves for the Apothecary. Nothing there. And then that is D3 plus 3 damage a time. So, alright, so 4, 8, 12 damage. Although he does have a 6 up feel no pain, so we'll do 5, 7, 10, 12. If he could somehow live this, it'd be miraculous, but oh, look at that. He tried, he got 2, but that's still 10 damage on a 5 wound character. So, hasta la vista, 2 CP spent for a kill on Grind Them Down, and an Apothecary is no more. The rest of the chargers from the Ultramarines were finished off camera. So the Lieutenant was able to take a wound off of the Abominant. The Redemptor killed one of the Ridge Runners and brought the last one down to 2 wounds remaining. Captain polished off the Magus, no problem. And was that it? Yep, that was all the close combats there. So now we will go to the ongoing combats. So it is going to be the Aberrants going into the Blade Guard, and the Blade Guard will hit back, and that'll do it for the turn. Finally, the fight with the Blade Guard and Aberrants has been a real slugfest. There is a single Blade Guard left and a single Aberrant left in that squad. So those met in the middle and have essentially obliterated each other at this point. So that is going to do it for the turn. Did all the morale off camera. Nobody ran away. So we're currently on a tally of 2-1 for grind. So if the cult kill any Ultramarine units in this turn, we will unfortunately lose the possibility for grind again. We did get 6 points on assassination, bringing us up to a total of 30. I also do control a objective marker in the No Man's Land, so that'll get me 2 points on the bonus. Or actually, it's at 3 points for the bonus on this one. Let's see, Tide of Conviction, it is 2 victory points, so that'll bring us up to 32 in favor of the Ultramarines as we go into turn 3 for the cult. So definitely running out of assets on both sides, but we will have to see what we can do. turn 3 with the Genestealer Cults. We've got everybody on the table at this point, and we are continuing to try to throttle out damage and kill. So the Patriarch is going to try to move on, smite, and destroy this Redemptor. The Aberrants are going to try to take down these Intercessors. The Impulsor is probably going to be left alone for this turn. Both squads of Genestealers are in a good place to take care of these Infiltrators. My Abominant fell back so that the Kellermorph can come up and hopefully snipe out the Lieutenant. The 4-man squad of Acolytes are running down these Infiltrators. And finally, the big squad is running down the Eradicators. So if everything works out perfectly, it'll basically be just what? It'll be the Librarian, 1 Blade Guard, an Impulsor, and the Captain. Definitely not enough to hold a whole board, I think. So that is it for the movement and command phase. Nothing to do in the command phase, other than they did call the cult to get their 2 saws back in the squad. And then for Psychic, we just have the Patriarch left. So we are going to start off with a smite from him. That's going to be a 5. I guess we'll try to, you know what, no, we'll try to use a reroll to get a better result on our smite. And a 9, that'll do it. So I think that will be what the Librarian tries to deny. And he denies it with a 10. All right. So next up will be Might from Beyond. On a 7, that'll go off. So no smite, but Might from Beyond will get us another attack. And that does it for the Psychic phase. Not a ton in shooting. In fact, I think it's really only the Ridge Runner shooting into the Redemptor, and maybe a couple pistol shots from Acolytes. Oh no, of course, it's the Kellermorph into the Lieutenant that we want to see. And it is Billy the Nid shooting into our Primaris Lieutenant. So 6 shots from his Liberator Auto Stubs. Hitting on 2s. Everything that's not a 1 is going to get an additional attack. So 6 shots will get 8 hits. And then strength 5, toughness 4. So 3s to wound. Alright, so that will be a 5 at AP 1. 4 up saves for the Lieutenant. Will take him down 3 wounds. Then, let's see, after he shoots, I can move or fall back, even if it arrived from reinforcements. So I think he is just going to, he's going to move over here. That way, in case these characters are still alive next turn, in order to hunt him down, they're going to have to move towards this big, or actually, no, he's going to move the opposite direction. He's going to hunker down with his Genestealer friends. So, could have gone better there, but it is what it is, and the Lieutenant is almost dead. After the rest of the shooting, which is just the heavy stubbers from this Ridge Runner into the Redemptor, lots of R names right there. Ugh. We will go into Chargers. The fresh squad. No, this is the 8-man squad. We got Overwatched. They are going to charge into the Infiltrators with the greatest of A's. So they'll spread out like so to get themselves into range of that objective. 8. No, now that I have the Kellermorph, the other 4 will also charge in with an 8. that'll be 2 squads into them. The Acolytes into the 2 Infiltrators. Megadin with a 7. Needing a 4 here with these Acolytes. They're technically failable, but... what did I say? Failable. But I do have a CP reroll. And with an 8, that'll get them in. Finally, probably the biggest charge is going to be the Broodlord into the Redemptor. On a 9, he'll make it. So he'll just kind of tuck himself in there. Just the 1 CP for the Ultramarine, so no chances to interrupt. So we are going to go ahead and do the fights from the cult off camera, since there's so many of them, and I will come back to you to see what is alive when it is time for the Marines to strike back, if there's anyone left to strike back with. After all was said and done from the Genestealers, we have eliminated the Infiltrators here. We're down to 1 Eradicator with 2 wounds left over here. The Infiltrator and the Under-Assessor, I forgot that he was there. I also would have charged into him and killed him as well. Were killed. The Redemptor does, in fact, still stand on 5 wounds remaining, thanks to his -1 damage. And 2 of the Intercessors were killed off by the Aberrants right over here. So not everywhere, not everything that I wanted to kill, but we still got a lot of them dead. So we will swing back with the Ultramarines and then come back to you to wrap up turn 3. Alrighty, so here we are at the end of round 3. So we scored another 5 on Brood Swarm, since we can, or not control, but have so many people everywhere all at once. That's going to bring us up 12 on that secondary. Banners, we did get 1 taken down, so we're only going to be scoring up to a maximum of 2 every turn. But right now the cult does control every objective, save the one that the captain is on. So definitely board control here. And at this point, I think there is just going to be too many assets left for the Ultramarines to deal with, but we will continue, see what they can do as we move into battle round 4. So it's currently 36-32. So close game in terms of scoring, but assets left on the board. I think it goes to the cult, and no points on primary is about to be scored by the Marines. Turn 4 with the Ultramarines, and without any primary or any real means to score primary. I think the writing's going to be on the wall, but I will talk you through what my intentions are for the turn and then see how it ends up. So I've moved back here with the captain. He is going to try to march from a crag on this objective, max out that secondary for me, while these 3 intercessors are forming a line to protect him, so that can finish. The Redemptor has fallen back out of combat, trying to shoot down the Patriarch, score me some assassination. Then over here, the 1 Blade Guard and 3 characters are going to try to cut down the Abominant and these 4 remaining Acolytes here on this objective to try to start getting that back in my favor. Meanwhile, the Impulsor is just going to continue sitting here and just take some plank shots off of the cultists. So I'll come back to you at the end of the turn with a summary on how that goes. At the end of turn 4 with the Ultramarines, we were able to kill both the Abominant and the Patriarch. So that brings assassination up to 13. We were also able to charge on and kill the Acolyte squad off of this objective marker. However, looking at the secondary, I can't do We March from a Crag with the captain. So that is going to kind of put a damper in that. Other than that, we did basically have the turn go according to plan, but that takes us up to 39. We missed a full turn of scoring for the primary. I will get 2 points for holding one in my opponent's territory. but it's only a 5-point lead right now, and we still have a lot more left for the cult. We'll go into Genestealer Cult turn 4. Turn 4 with the Genestealer Cult. We're going to go up to 50 to 41 in favor of the cult after scoring primary and banners. So I think we might have this for the cult, because if I can just get these off the table with this big squad of acolytes, which I could also help out by swinging the Ridge Runner over their way. I can kill a character, kill the last of that unit, bring us up to a tie for grind them down. That should also give me another No Man's Land objective to hold in the last battle round. So I think we might about do a summary after I played through this last turn for the cult. At the end of turn turn 4 with the Genestealer Cult, looks like I am good to call it. We were able to kill off most of this Intercessor squad. The last one killed the one on 1 wound. The Impulsor was destroyed, exploded, took 2 of the cultists, or not cultists, the Genestealers away, and we were able to clean up the last Blade Guard and the Lieutenant. So that makes it a 0 score for grind them down for the Ultramarines. So it is going to be a victory on today's battle report for the Genestealer Cultists. So hope everybody enjoyed the game. End of the game score was 55 to 41 in favor of the cult. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, leave a comment if you haven't already. Make sure you keep watching the channel. I'm excited that 10th edition has been announced, and obviously I will try to get infantry content out for 10th edition as soon as possible. But hey, maybe it'll have a lot of infantry in it. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do an all-infantry battle between, I don't know, the Guard and Ultramarines maybe as my first game, since I let slip that. Or, well, didn't let slip, but whatever. I'm rambling. You know the drill. Like the video. Keep watching. See you later. See ya on the next battlefield of the 41st millennium.